I want to say congratulations to Youth Voice for taking this walk from an idea to a powerful, powerful action. It has been a wonderful experience to support your work and act in solidarity with your desire to impact the policies that affect your education. During a time when it seems like students' voices are being muffled by the clamor to privatize our public school system, during a time when high-stakes testing and data is prioritized over people, it is especially important to communicate your list of demands to the governing body that represents you. It is increasingly crucial for schools to be places where critical thinking is just as important as Common Core, so that you have agency and choice in your own future. Your potential is limitless, and I look forward to the amazing work that you will continue to do in your lives. I decided to walk today because I heard Michael, Trayvon, and Kayla speak at a conference in Ann Arbor a few weeks ago and was so moved by the organizing that Youth Voice is doing that I wanted to become a part of this movement. I taught high school English in New York City public schools for 4 years in the Bronx, and co-directed a youth organization called United Players that's an anti-violence youth organization. I was fed up with watching my students get harassed by the NYPD both in and outside of our school with their infamous stop and frisk policy targeting youth of color. We began educating our students about their rights when talking to the police, attached school schedules to their IDs so the cops would believe that they had alternative schedules. We began organizing and meeting with local officials, yet every day they received tickets and were even arrested despite having proper documentation from the school. Inside of New York City public schools, and I'm saying this to let you know that this is a national issue as well, uniformed officers were responsible for breaking up fights between students and subsequently arrested them, so giving them a criminal record for things that happened inside of schools. The move to place cops in schools has always been spun to protect kids, but we know that this is one step in the school-to-prison pipeline that criminalizes you in the very place that you're supposed to be safe and you're supposed to be learning. While my experience has mostly been in New York, the school-to-prison pipeline is in operation in all 50 states. From Oakland to Brooklyn, Detroit to Seattle, is a systemic design to continue enslaving people of color by criminalizing our youth, finding new and creative ways to ensure that they end up in the cell that was built for them. Research has proven that third grade MEP scores determine projected numbers of future cells that are needed. Michigan has got to revise our policies to truly support you, our future, towards success after high school, instead of setting you up for failure and for the slavery that has been written by our government into your destiny. In my time teaching in the Bronx, I have watched Restorative Justice work as an alternative to suspensions and to promote students' engagement with the school community. We employed a full-time staff known as the intervention team who replaced police officers as the adults responsible for handling student conflict. I'm proof I have seen it work in a school context. It can. Our graduation rates went from 40 to 90% in 2008. And I believe that we already have the solution to ending a dark era in education, where, as Michael said, schools look and feel like jails. The solution lies in the hands of youth, of you guys, who have walked tirelessly since Monday, blisters and injuries and all, to bring awareness to the need for change, and who are the allies and all of the people who are out today, who truly work for youth empowerment as a necessary key to unlock a shared destiny of a peaceful and just society. I stand with you as you demand an end to zero-tolerance suspension policies for nonviolent offenses and instead work toward using restorative practices to keep students in school. Don't ever let anybody tell you guys that you are too young to change the world. You have done exactly that in the past 3 days, and your movement is strong. Keep on. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Greta McCaney Trice. I work for Resolution Services Center, a dispute resolution center in this area, and I do the restorative practices work that works. I want to stand here before you today and say thank you, youth people. I'm a retired educator, and this is what education is about. This is why you want an education, so that you do have a voice that works to change things that are wrong. Zero tolerance was set in motion to change something that was wrong, and that was violence in the school place. Instead of making that a positive change, however, it became a target for the things that you've heard people say, targeting students and protecting people that did not necessarily want zero tolerance, but just want a controlled environment and stifling of voices and many times. However, by using restorative practices, I want you guys to know that is the solution that works. We have avoided over 1,500 suspension days so far in the greater Lansing area. And how that works is, I want you to say it's not a program. It is a process and a philosophy of thinking that everybody deserves respect, everybody deserves to be listened to and heard, everybody deserves to be understood, and the circumstances they are going through understood, and everybody needs a voice, even when things go wrong. Now, how restorative works. It works by humanizing people and not programmatizing people and not systematizing people. It humanizes them by saying, let's talk and work this thing out. Let's use some skills. Let's teach these to the students that are in trouble. Let's teach them to be accountable for what they've done in a way that affects the change and they don't repeat. That's how restorative practices does work, and it does work. And I want you to understand that while it's working, it's changing lives. When I went to school, and everybody that's going to school before some of these young folks there, when you went to school, the teachers knew your mama and your daddy. The principals knew your mama and your daddy. Well, with school of choice and charter schools that have already disbanded community, you don't have those relationships anymore. And what restorative justice does is put back the relationship, not just with the teacher and the student, but with the parents, the police officer, the community, and the church. And if we don't have these relationship-focused opportunities to humanize people, people to people, you won't have anything but a program. It has to start with who's at the table and doing something for people. That make sense? Thank you, and thank you, youth voices, and thank you.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Tom Jones. I'm from the Michigan Prophetic Voices. We came down here every Tuesday in March to advocate for the same thing that Youth Voice is standing for, an end to these crazy zero tolerance policies. I just wanted to share with you, this is not a new concept that we should have individual and intelligent responses to problems. We see in the Bible way back when Moses led the people of Israel out of slavery, and they crossed the Red Sea, and before he even got the 10 Commandments, he was busy all day long resolving disputes. And his father-in-law said, Moses, get with it. Let's get some people appointed to talk to individuals who have conflicts and resolve them. Even back in Exodus, they did not use zero tolerance policies. This is not a new thought. Now, I am personally touched by this because we live on a farm, and my son, who would do his chores, had a knife. Not a surprise to have a knife if you're doing farm chores. He had it in the pocket of his coat, went to school, had his coat in his locker. Too bad for him he doesn't have good luck. So they searched his locker, found the knife. Sorry, he had never gotten into a fight. He had never threatened anyone with it. He was in possession. He was out for a year. He's expelled. And for all practical purposes, that means don't go back to that school. Transfer someplace else. Well, he transferred someplace else and lost credit for that whole year. Had to start over. 10th grade was try again the second time, you probably get it better. And he did. Now, his experience was a little different than some people in that he did have a weapon, and it wasn't a real trivial thing, but in this case, someone looking at the situation might have said, there's other ways to resolve this. And he went to the new school. Turns out if you're a kid who's gotten kicked out of school for carrying a weapon, you go to a new school, word gets around. Now, my kid is kind of a stand-up comedian. He reminds me a lot of Michael. He was able to make friends. Other kids in the same situation might have had a harder time. And that's what I see when kids are getting expelled and suspended, even in elementary school in the district where I work. And I've talked to people. Last September, when Moore Corrigan said they had a school justice partnership, Eaton County was part of that. and we have developed guidelines that say it's a truancy intervention program, but more to the point, a multi-tier system that says, look at this situation on an individual basis and find, what does this person really need? Everybody's not the same. How do we get more supports that can keep the kids in school, leading to graduation, better grade point averages, and success? The bottom line for my kid, he's going to be doing his student teaching in the fall. He's going to be a high school math teacher. I hope he does better. And I wish the same for each of you, that you may have success. Thank you for coming. Take care.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michelle Weemhoff. I'm with the Michigan Council on Crime and Delinquency, and our agency is dedicated to making sure that justice policies are fair, affordable, and effective. Today we're not just looking at education policies, but we need to make sure that if young people end up in the court system, that we have effective solutions for working with them, first and foremost diverting them to more appropriate services. We've all heard the statistics that children who are suspended and expelled are more likely to drop out of school and end up in the justice system. But what does that really mean for their future? We are increasingly concerned that we're criminalizing rather than educating our children. And our agency wants to make sure that the state has policies that support children, not push them into a justice system that is not equipped to meet their needs. When you look at juvenile justice today, you find that our detention centers are filled with children that have significant learning disabilities, children that are behind multiple grade levels in school and have not completed their high school diplomas. We often push these children into GED and tell them that diploma is not an option for them. This is not a reflection of bad children, it's a reflection of bad policies. When we make decisions to suspend and expel children, it's often with a very short-term goal in mind, to manage behavior in the classroom or to punish somebody. But the truth is that we are sentencing children to a lifetime of hardship. When you don't have a high school diploma and you have a criminal record, it becomes much harder to find a job, to find a place to live, and to be settled in your community. As a result, many people as adults are forced to rely on government assistance. 40% of residents who receive cash assistance were not able to achieve their diploma. And nearly 70% of Michigan's prison population was not able to yet achieve their diploma. This ultimately costs taxpayers billions of dollars every year. Our role as educators, advocates, policymakers, and voters is to give children the tools that they need, and sometimes those tools need to be outside the traditional box of education. But we cannot give up on outside the box of traditional education. But we cannot give up on children, particularly those who are struggling in school, who have mental health concerns, and who feel like outcasts. In fact, those are the children who need the most help. By investing in their future, we're not only giving them an opportunity to succeed, but we're helping to ensure that Michigan communities are safer and prosperous. Thank you.
So this is the last person. Don't go home yet. Last person. This person has gave over $1,000. This person has been working on this policy for over 10 years. And I'd like to acknowledge her and have her come up here and say a few words. Let him say her name so you can feel a part of it.
Perry Stone-Palmquist. I think he wanted me to come and say that. You know, I just wanted to say one thing here about what Pastor Jones said. Do you realize that his son got expelled from school for having a farm tool in his pocket? Because that's what that was. Would you please come and speak?
Yes, I will. Hey, everybody! Woo! I want to first acknowledge the All Kids in School Coalition, because there's a lot of organizations that some are here today and some aren't. So if you didn't see this sign on the table, I just want to name some of those groups, okay, that are part of that coalition standing behind Youth Voice. We have ACLU of Michigan, Association for Children's Mental Health, the ARC of Michigan, BME, the Education Trust Midwest, Interfaith Council